Hey guys, my name is Koushik and welcome back to LetCode. In this video, we are going to learn the locator strategy in Protractor. Most of us think that we should go with the Protractor because of the extended locator supports like the ng model or the repeater or the binding. But that is not the true. In this video, I am going to clear all the misconception about the Protractor locator strategy, and also we are going to understand how the AngularJS or the Angular has evolved a lot and what are the changes, at least in the perspective from the testers, like how we have to go with the locators or finding the locators in an appropriate way. So let's get into the video now. As for the Protractor documentation, we can see that we have so many locators like the @locators or the deep CSS. I will leave this for the next video where we are going to talk about the @locator and the deep CSS in detail. Apart from that, we have this binding, exact binding, model, button text, partial button text, repeater and the exact repeater, and also we have the CSS containing text. CSS containing text mostly used for the dropdowns. And of course, we can use for any of the locators where we have the text field, but mostly used in the dropdown. So we have already saw the examples for this. I will leave a link in the description. Probably you can check it from there. Now let's see how to find the locator using the model or the ng model. So most of the YouTubers use this website called XYZ Bank from the waytoautomation.com. And you might seen that they have just go to inspect and they will say like, we have this ng model and we can use it, right? Which is correct. I'm not saying it's wrong. Let's understand the difference between the Angular versions first. Okay. So let's say that I'm going to take this fname as a ng model. So if I write the script here for the button text, we have this example, right? So button text equal to sign up and partial button text equal to sign. So we can write the partial text. So this is we learned already. So I'm just going to skip this now. And we have this ng model, right? And that is AngularJS application. Let us understand the difference first. Okay. So if I go back to this website and I'm using this extension called the Vapalizer, that is used to find the versions or what are the frameworks used in the particular website. For example, here we can see that it's using AngularJS 1.4.7 and it has a bootstrap for the UI and some other libraries, right? Now, this AngularJS, right? So we have two versions of Angular majorly. One is the AngularJS, that is the one version, very first version of Angular. And then it has been changed to Angular, only the Angular that is using the TypeScript. With the help of TypeScript, nowadays everyone is coding for the Angular, not the AngularJS version, right? Now, when we say AngularJS, of course, we have support for the ng model or the binding or the repeater. But when it comes to the Angular, we do not have that options. Let me show you the demo as well. So here we have this ng model equal to first name. I'm just going to copy this, and here you can see that I have already written the script. So I'm just navigating to that particular site, and I'm just finding the model using this by.model, and then I'm passing my name. Let us try to run this now. Of course, it's going to execute for sure. Let's see. And here you can see that the name has been passed that we have sent from the script, and of course we do not have any failures, right? Now let's go to our LetCode website, and here you can see that we have this sign up form. And if I go back to this Vapalizer, you can see that it is actually Angular, not the JS. It is Angular that is written with the TypeScript. So they call it as only Angular, not Angular TS, and other something where I'm using in the background, right? Now, if I go back and inspect this particular form, you can see that we have this attribute called ng model, but I don't have any value for that. In our previous example, we can see that we have ng hyphen model and then followed by the value, right? But in this scenario, of course, I do not have the value. So can I use this? Of course, I cannot use this. And let's go back to another site. So this is Freelancer, where it is also using the Angular latest version 10, the major version. Now, if I go back and inspect this one, you can see that it doesn't have any of the value called ng model, right? So that means, of course, we cannot use the ng model in the latest version of Angular. But let's see from the developer perspective how the application is developed. So if I go back to the sign up form from my LetCode website, here you can see that I have a field called name, and also I have mentioned the ng model. Now, based on this ng model, in the TypeScript file, this file, I have taken that name. So whenever we have a name from the form, we can extract the values. For example, here we are using this name, the email, the password, right? The same exact words or the variables I am using in this particular form as well as the value. Like id equal to name equal to name, and then followed by here also I have like name equal to email, and then followed by name equal to password. So most of the time in any of the form, of course, you can see most of the name value, and of course we can use that, right? For example, here you can see that we do not have name, right? So it is not necessary that it is mandatory. Angular doesn't work in the same way. It works based on most of the form types. Forms are also, there are so many types. So let's not worry about the development side or the entire development flow. But as a tester, of course, we have to understand like what is the best locators we can use, right? Now, in this case, of course, I can go with the placeholder as a XPath, or maybe the type equal to email, and maybe some another thing, right? So that's fine. Or maybe also we can go with the parent base or the child base like this one, right? So here input type equal to email is unique, and here we have this parent base class. So of course we can use all those type. So I leave that for the XPath one, right? Now you might ask me, is XPath is using good? Of course it's good. Comparing to any other locators, it's good. Now people say that XPath is slow, go with CSS. Let's not worry about that. To be honest, in modern browsers, everything is same. So it's mostly same. If you're comfort with the XPath, of course you can use it. Don't write long XPath. If the XPath is relative or it's from the parent to child concept like that, of course you can go with that. Okay. But let us try to run this with the help of ng model. So in the code, I have written like model name, and from this only I'm extracting the value, right? Now let's try to run this and see what happens. So of course the script got failed, and the reason it says that Angular is not found, right? Now if I go to the Google and search this, you will end up in landing this particular page at the end. So let me open that. Yeah, this one. And here you can see that it's clearly mentioned that Angular version greater than 1.0 or the 1.1.4 is compatible with the Angular applications, where we can use the ng model, the bindings, each and everything. But in Angular apps, the binding and the model locators are not supported. We recommend using by.css. So in Protractor official document itself, they have mentioned that binding and models are no more supported. And same applies to the repeater as well. Repeater is also not supported in the latest version of Angular. Anything other than Angular 1, the major version, you cannot use the locators like the model or the binding, right? Now let's see some another example as well. So I'm just going to comment this one. I hope you are clear with the model now. And let's go with another example for the exact binding or the binding. Okay. So here we have this calendar, letCode.in/calendar. So let me go to this first. And in this page, I have this button called today. When I click on this, the date is whatever the date we are going to select. I mean, the today date is going to be shown in this particular place. Now, if I do right click and inspect, you can see that we are able to see the text called you have selected, then followed by what is the date and the time. And it has some div. Other than that, I have no values, right? But let me show you the code that I have developed here, right? So here, if I go to this calendar component, so here you can see that we have a value called timer. Now let me show you the the HTML page. So here you can see that you have selected and then followed by timer and then date. So this curly braces, right? So anything within the double curly braces is known as interpolations. So within the interpolations, we can pass a variable, and also we can use this. So this is known as pipes. Pipes in the sense, now here I am passing date, and the date range should be short. But here I am passing the date, where I am passing the date, the month and the year, right? So with the help of pipes, we can do so many things. So that's entirely different in the development. So probably I will just leave a link in the description. If you want, you can see more detail that in that scenario. Now here this type, right? So here you can see we are writing the if conditional. So within the HTML also we can write the if condition. That is the beauty of Angular. And here I am using this ng if. So if there is any value, so initially it will be null, that means no value. If there is any value, then I am just using this text. I am displaying this text in the UI. Now if I go to this component.ts, the actual development code, you can see that whatever the value I'm going to get. So once I click on that, I will get some value, and I'm just adding the value to that, right? I'm just doing some kind of appending, right? So this is known as binding. So we are doing the string interpolation binding here. So anything returns within the double quotations are known as, sorry, not the double quotation, double curly braces. That is known as interpolations. So let me show you the documentation as well if you don't trust me. So here the major versions, AngularJS and the Angular, right? So here you can see that this is known as bindings or the interpolations. So whenever there is an interpolations, we can use the locator like by.binding, right? And here you can see the within the double curly braces we are writing something, whereas in Angular, that is in TypeScript, it's going to be only the variable name, right? And here on older version of Angular, it is known as filters, where now we call it as pipes. So exactly same thing, whatever we have like uppercase, the lowercase, the date, and so many other things, like we can order, that is sort by, we can do sorting, all the stuff with the help of pipes. In AngularJS, it is known as filters, right? Now let me go back here. So here you can see that we have used this exact binding, and I'm just giving the timer, the variable name that I have written in my code, right? Now, if I try to run this, it's not going to work. Let me show you that as well. So here you can see that it clicked the today button, and also we got the date, right? But in the script, you can see again it's saying that Angular is not defined, because of course it's Angular TS, not the Angular JS version. So we cannot use the by.binding or the exact binding. Now, what's the difference between binding as well as the exact binding? Let us understand that as well. So if I go back to the locators, the official document by the Protractor, if I click on this binding, you can see that we have this double curly braces, the person.name, and based on that, they are just taking. So by.binding and then followed by this value, not the curly braces. Within that, whatever we have, we can take the value. Now, what is the difference between exact binding? Is very simple. In exact binding, we can use this person.phone, or else we can also use this pipes as well. So technically in AngularJS, it is filters, right? So with the help of filters as well, we can take the value, or else we can just specify only the variable name. That's it. So that is the difference between binding and the exact binding, which is same for the repeater and the exact repeater as well, right? So I hope you got the idea about the model and the binding. Now let's go with the next one. We have this repeater, right? So for that, I'm going to take this particular website. Let me log out first. So what I have written here is, let me comment this. So the repeater, and within the repeater, I have just going to this particular website and using a model, because here the website is designed using the AngularJS 1.2. So the major version 1, that means AngularJS, of course, we can use the bindings and the repeaters and the model as well. So here we have this model user.name and model user.password, and just sending the credential, and then we have this button text, where this one, right? So this button with a text called login. So I'm just using that for doing the login. And after that, I'm trying to take the repeater. Let me show you this. So I'm just going to log in now. And here you can see that as soon as we log in, we are getting some data, right? So the employee's name probably. So if I go and inspect this, and here you can see that something called ng repeat, and within that we have like employee in employees, right? So if you remember this syntax, employee in employees, probably when I taught you the video about the conditional control flow, right? So in that loop I have said like we have for in, for off, right? The exact same is what ng repeater as well. So if I go back here, and here you can see that ng repeater employee in employees. So I'm taking the values and I'm just getting the text of this. So first text we have this that word or something. So we are expecting this text to appear in our console as well, right? So let's run this and see. Okay, so the login is success, and after that we got the value called some dot something, and here we are getting the exact same thing, right? Now, if I wanted to get the multiple values, what are the values I have there? If I wanted to get that, it's very simple. What we have to do is like element.all. So we are finding multiple elements at the same time. And then of course we have to do some mapping or maybe for each, anything is fine, right? So employee dot, we'll say like each, and then this is going to return me one employee at the time. And from the employee, I'm just going to get the text, right? So await, and then followed by we'll write within the sysout directly, I mean the console log. So log, then followed by await, and then employee dot get text, right? Very simple. And of course that should be of async. So as soon as I save this, automatically id is getting the async, right? So that's really cool, right? Now let's go back and run this. Let's see what happens. So we are expecting all the values, like what are the employees over there, we are expecting all those to be printed here, right? And we didn't get anything because my bad. So I have to use the await keyword here, or else of course we know that it's not going to work. So let me clear it up and run once again. Let me close this process first. Yeah, so we have only one this browser, and we are expecting all the employees name to be displayed in the console. Let's see. So login is successful, and after that we are checking the console, we are able to get all the values, right? So that's pretty good, neat and clean code, right? So to conclude, we understood that we cannot use the ng model or the bindings or the repeater for non-AngularJS application. So we have two versions. One is the AngularJS majorly, and another one is the simple Angular, but it is written with the help of TypeScript, but they don't call it Angular TS, I mean Angular TS, rather they just call it as Angular. Okay, so remember that one. And you might ask me what is the repeater for Angular in Angular TS version, right? Or the Angular version, right? So if I go back to this LetCode website, and here we have this test case, I believe. So let's go back to this find elements. Now, as soon as I type some git username, and if I hit enter or click on the search, you can see that it's actually populating all the repository that are available in my GitHub source. I mean in my GitHub repository, right? So for this, if I go and inspect, and here you can see that we are not using any of the ng repeater, but right? But internally, I'm using something like that. So let me go to the source code. Probably will can see that. So GitHub component.ts, not this one. So let me just find it that. Yeah. So here you can see that I'm using something called ng for instead of the ng repeater. Why? Because as per the documentation, if you go to this particular Protractor documentation, you can see that in AngularJS, we have to use the concept like local variables, where we can use this ng dash repeat. But in Angular, I have to use this ng for. Okay, of course, there might be another ways, but I'm just telling you as per my knowledge on the Angular development side, right? So this is how I have built the website, and based on that only I should of course do the testing, right? So to conclude about the locators in Protractor, we must know that we cannot use the bindings or the repeater or the model for the Angular versions. For AngularJS, of course, we can use any of the values. And apart from that, if you go to the documentation, of course, we have the support from the WebDriver, like the class name, CSS, ID, link text, JavaScript executor, name, partial link text, tag name, and of course the XPath, right? So what are the things like this locators, all these locators already we have learned so many times. We have written so many script. Of course, I assume that you know about all this stuff, right? So how to find the locators using the WebDriver strategy. And that's it, right? So we'll talk about the add locator or the dev CSS maybe in some another video, right? So that's it from my side. I hope you have enjoyed the video. If so, do let me know in the comments and give a thumbs up. And I'm expecting at least 20 likes for this video. Okay. So see you in the next one with another good topic. So that's it. So tata, bye bye. See you. Take care.